To catch the perfect wave, you need to have the right board. Surfboards used to be made of solid wood, and they could weigh up to 45 kilos. But modern surfboards weigh as little as 2.5 kilos, and they can be carefully shaped and sanded for maximum performance. That is, if you make them out of the right stuff. At the core of every surfboard is a foam blank like this that can be customized into any type of surfboard. This one is being cut down into a shorter board for an expert surfer. The blank is made of a sturdy plastic called polyurethane that's also used to make skateboard wheels. But for surfboards, it's made into a foam that's filled with thousands of tiny air pockets. The air pockets keep the board lightweight, but also strong. Once the board is the right length, a computer-controlled cutter shaves it down even more to just the right shape. First, it refines what surfers call the rocker, which is the banana-like curve of the board. The flatter the curve, the faster the board, and the harder it is to control. A deeper curve like this one allows for better turns and more control. The cutter uses a steel router to shave off 1.5 millimeters at a time. The width of the board also makes a difference, with wider boards being more stable and narrower boards, like this one, giving you more speed. When the curve and the width are just right, the board is flipped over and the router shapes the curve on the backside. The final shaping is done by hand, because if too much is sanded away, it will change the dynamics of the board. The most critical sanding is done to the nose, which has to be shaped to a fine point so it can cut through all types of waves. Then for this short board, the tail is sanded into what's called a squash tail, that's slightly square. This tail shape gives the board more speed and allows for quick pivotal turns. When the board is fully shaped, it's ready for the design work, which is all about image rather than performance. A worker outlines the design in masking tape and carefully cuts it out. Then the board is sprayed with acrylic paints. It's a similar type to that used to paint houses, so you know it's waterproof and tough. After the first colour dries, some of the masking is peeled away and a second colour goes on. Then more masking is removed and a worker carefully airbrushes in some yellow to complete the design. Then the board gets its fins. A template sits on the tail, so a drill can carve out the spots where the fins are glued on with a waterproof resin. The fins act like the rudder of a boat and help to guide the board through the water. Finally, to keep the foam board from breaking apart in the waves, the whole thing is strengthened with several layers of resin-soaked fiberglass cloth. The fiberglass cloth is made up of tiny strands of glass that are tightly woven together like cotton or wool fibers to make them super strong. The bond between the cloth and the board is made permanent with an ultraviolet light that dries and solidifies the resin in the cloth into a rock-hard finish. But before this board hits the water, a final hot coat of resin and wax is poured over it. to smooth out the finish and give the whole thing a final waterproof seal. A fine-grained sander gives the board a final polish, and now it's ready to catch the next wave.